Hello, welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology as we continue on with the showcase missions. Now, today's mission is going to be the C-17, which I'm actually just going to repurpose the C-5 mission for that, so let's see. Oh, I actually have to delete and remake them. It's not like newer. Wait, no, I don't. Haha. There we go. Boop. I was gonna say, don't tell me that's something only newer games could do, but it's not. Hooray. There we go. And to avoid issues, let's drop our altitude down to 30,000 feet for starters. And other than that, we're pretty much going to stick with the same scenario. We got 3 C-17s coming in from Great Britain to drop off supplies of javelins and weapons and other material support to Ukraine as they fight off the Russian invasion. So let's save that. And in we go. Alright, so let's ramp up the throttle to about 80%. And we can see, there we go, our big fat airlifter squadron coming in with more arms. Alright, so, C-17 Globemaster. In the 1970s, the United States Air Force began looking for a replacement for its Lockheed C-130 Hercules tactical cargo aircraft. The Advanced Medium Stoll Transport competition was held with Boeing proposing the YC-14 and McDonnell Douglas proposing the YC-15. Though both entrants exceeded specified requirements, the AMST competition was canceled before a winner was selected. The United States Air Force started the CX program in November 1975 to develop a larger AMST with longer range to augment its strategic airlift. By 1980, the United States Air Force had a large fleet of aging C-141 Starlifter cargo aircraft, and compounding matters, increased strategic airlift capabilities were needed to fulfill its rapid deployment and airlift requirements. The United States Air Force set mission requirements and released a request for proposals for a CX in October of 1980. McDonnell Douglas chose to develop a new aircraft based on the YC-15. Boeing bid on an enlarged 3-engine version of its AMST YC-14. Lockheed submitted both a C-5-based design and an enlarged C-141 design. On the 28th of August 1981, McDonnell Douglas was chosen to build its proposal, then designated the C-17. Compared to the YC-15, the new aircraft differed in having swept wings, increased size, and more powerful engines. This would allow it to perform the work done by the C-141 and to fulfill some of the duties of the Lockheed C-5 Galaxy, freeing the C-5 fleet for outsized cargo. Alternative proposals were pursued to fill airlift needs after the CX contest. These were lengthening of C-141As into C-141Bs, ordering more C-5s, continued purchases of KC-10s, and expansion of the Civil Reserve Air Fleet. Limited budgets reduced program funding, requiring a delay of 4 years. During this time, contracts were awarded for preliminary design work and for the completion of engine certification. In December of 1985, a full-scale development contract was awarded under Program Manager Bob Klepper. At this time, first flight was planned for 1990. The United States Air Force had formed a requirement for 210 aircraft. Development problems and limited funding caused delays in the late 1980s, and criticisms were made of the developing aircraft, and questions were raised about more cost-effective alternatives during this time. There we go. In April of 1990, Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney reduced the order from 210 aircraft to 120 aircraft. Maiden flight of the C-17 took place on the 15th of September 1991 from the McDonnell Douglas plant in Long Beach, California, about a year behind schedule. First aircraft, T-1, and 5 more production models, P-1 through P-5, participated in extensive flight testing and evaluation at Edwards Air Force Base. 2 complete airframes were built for static and repeated load testing. A static test of the C-17 wing in October of 1992 resulted in its failure at 128% of design limit load. below the 150% requirement. Both wings buckled rear to the front, and failures occurred in stringers, spars, and ribs. Some $100 million were spent to redesign the wing structure. The wing failed at 145% during a second test in September of 1993. A review of the test data, however, showed that the wing was not loaded correctly and did indeed meet the requirement. C-17 received the Globemaster III name in early 1993, and in late 1993, the Department of Defense gave the contractor 2 years to solve production issues and cost overruns or face the contract's termination after the delivery of the 40th aircraft. By accepting the 1993 terms, McDonnell Douglas incurred a loss of nearly $1.5 billion in the program's development phase. In April of 1994, oh wow, I just course corrected and now we are way off again. There we go. And let's keep things straight this time, guys, okay? Alright. In April 1994, the program remained over budget and did not meet weight, fuel burn, payload, and range specifications. It failed several key criteria during airworthiness evaluation tests, and problems were found with the mission software, landing gear, and other areas. In May of 1994, it was proposed to cut production to as few as 32 aircraft. These cuts were later rescinded. A July 1994 Government Accountability Office report revealed that United States Air Force and DoD studies from 1986 and 1991 stated the C-17 could use 6,400 more runways outside the U.S. than the C-5, but these studies had only considered runway dimensions, but not runway strength or load classification numbers. C-5 has a lower LCN, or load classification number, but the United States Air Force classifies both in the same broad load classification group. When considering runway dimensions and load ratings, the C-17's worldwide runway advantage over the C-5 shrank from 6,400 airfields to 911 airfields. The report also stated current military doctrine that does not reflect the use of small, austere airfields, thus the C-17 short field capability was not considered. A January 1995 GAO report stated that the United States Air Force originally planned to order 210 C-17s at the cost of $41.8 billion, and that the 120 aircraft on order were to cost $39.5 billion based on a 1992 estimate. In March of 1994, the U.S. Army decided it did not need the 60,000-pound low-altitude parachute extraction system delivery with the C-17, and that the C-130's 42,000-pound capability was sufficient. C-17 testing was limited to this lower weight. Airflow issues prevented the C-17 from meeting airdrop requirements. The February 1997 GAO report revealed that a C-17 with a full payload could not land on 3,000-foot wet runways. Simulations suggested a distance of 5,000 feet was required. The YC-15 was transferred to the AMARC to be made flightworthy again for further flight tests for the C-17 program in March of 1997. By September of 1995, most of the prior issues were reportedly resolved, and the C-17 was meeting all performance and reliability targets. The 1st United States Air Force Squadron was declared operational in January of 1995. In 1996, the DoD ordered another 80 aircraft for a total of 120. In 1997, McDonnell Douglas merged with domestic competitor Boeing. In April of 1999, Boeing offered to cut the C-17's unit price if the USAF bought 60 more. And in August of 2002, the order was increased to 180 aircraft. In 2007, 190 C-17s were on order for the United States Air Force, and on the 6th of February 2009, Boeing was awarded a $2.95 billion contract for 15 additional C-17s, increasing the total USAF fleet to 205 and extending production from August 2009 to August 2010. On the 6th of April 2009, U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates stated that there would be no more C-17s ordered beyond the 205 plan. However, on the 12th of June 2009, the House Armed Services Air and Land Force Subcommittee added a further 17 C-17s. In 2010, Boeing reduced the production rate to 10 aircraft per year from a high of 16 per year due to dwindling orders and to extend the production line's life while additional orders were sought. Workforce was reduced by about 1,100 through 2012. A second shift at the Long Beach plant was also eliminated. By April of 2011, 230 production C-17s had been delivered, including 210 to the United States Air Force. C-17 prototype T-1 was retired in 2012 after use as a testbed by the USAF. Up we have lift failure again. Let's see. And we actually aren't going that much. There. I think we're about maxed out at throttle, yeah, 100%. In January of 2010, the United States Air Force announced the end of Boeing's performance-based logistics contracts to maintain the type. On the 19th of June 2012, the United States Air Force ordered its 224th and final C-17 to replace one that crashed in Alaska in July of 2010. In September 2013, Boeing announced that C-17 production was starting to close down. In October 2014, the main wing spar of the 279th and last aircraft was completed. This C-17 was delivered in 2015, after which Boeing closed the Long Beach plant. Production of spare components was to continue until at least 2017. C-17 is projected to be in service for several decades. In February of 2014, Boeing was engaged in sales talk with 5 or 6 countries for the remaining 15 C-17s. Thus, Boeing decided to build 10 aircraft without confirmed buyers in anticipation of future purchases. In May of 2015, the Wall Street Journal reported that Boeing expected to book a charge of under $100 million and cut 3,000 positions associated with the C-17 program, and also suggested that Airbus's lower-cost A400M Atlas took international sales away from the C-17. The C-17 Globemaster III is a strategic transport aircraft able to airlift cargo close to a battle area. The size and weight of U.S. mechanized firepower and equipment have grown in recent decades from increased air mobility requirements, particularly for large or heavy non-palletized outsized cargo. It has a length of 174 feet and a wingspan of 169 feet, 10 inches, and uses about 8% composite materials, mostly in secondary structure and control surfaces. C-17 is powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney F-117 PW100 turbofan engines, which are based on the commercial Pratt & Whitney PW2040 used on the Boeing 757. Each engine is rated at 40,400 pound-foot of thrust, and the engine's thrust reversers direct engine exhaust air upwards and forward, reducing the chances of foreign object damage by ingestion of runway debris, and providing enough reverse thrust to back up the aircraft while taxiing. Thrust reversers can also be used in flight at idle reverse for added drag and maximum right descents. In vortex surfing tests performed by 2 C-17s, up to 10% fuel savings were reported. For cargo operations, the C-17 requires a crew of 3, pilot, co-pilot, and loadmaster. The cargo compartment is 88 feet long by 18 feet wide by 12 feet 4 inches high. Cargo floor has rollers for palletized cargo, but it can be flipped to provide a flat floor suitable for vehicles and other rolling stock. Cargo is loaded through a large aft ramp that accommodates rolling stock such as the 69-ton M1 Abrams main battle tank, other armored vehicles, trucks, and trailers, along with palletized cargo. Maximum payload of the C-17 is 170,900 pounds, and its maximum takeoff weight is 585,000 pounds. With a payload of 160,000 pounds and an initial cruise altitude of 28,000 feet, the C-17 has an unrefueled range of about 2,400 nautical miles on the first 71 aircraft, and 2,800 nautical miles on all subsequent extended range models that include a sealed center wing bay as a fuel tank. Boeing informally calls these aircraft the C-17ER. The C-17's cruise speed is about 450 knots, and it is designed to airdrop 102 paratroopers and their equipment. According to Boeing, the maximum unloaded range is 6,230 nautical miles. The C-17 is designed to operate from runways as short as 3,500 feet and as narrow as 90 feet. C-17 can also operate from unpaved, unimproved runways, although with a higher probability to damage the aircraft. The thrust reversers can be used to move the aircraft backwards and reverse direction on narrow taxiways using a 3 or more point turn. The plane is designed for 20 man-hours of maintenance per flight hour and a 74% mission availability rate. The first production C-17 was delivered to Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, on the 14th of July, 1993. The first C-17 unit, the 17th Airlift Squadron, became operationally ready on the 17th of January 1995. It has broken 22 records for oversized payloads, and the C-17 was awarded U.S. Aviation's most prestigious award, the Collier Trophy, in 1994. The Congressional Report on Operations in Kosovo and Operation Allied Force noted one of the great success stories was the performance of the Air Force's C-17A. It flew half of the strategic airlift missions in the operation. The type could use small airfields, easing operations, and rapid turnaround times also led to efficient utilization. In 2006, 8 C-17s were delivered to March Joint Air Reserve Base, California, controlled by the Air Force Reserve Command, assigned to the 452nd Air Mobility Wing, and subsequently assigned to AMC's 436th Airlift Wing and the AFRC Associate Unit, the 512th Airlift Wing, at Dover Air Force Base, Delaware, supplementing the Lockheed C-5 Galaxy. The Mississippi Air National Guard's 172 Airlift Group received their first of 8 C-17s in 2006. In 2011, the New York Air National Guard's 105th Airlift Wing at Stewart Air National Guard Base transitioned from the C-5 to the C-17. C-17s delivered military supplies during Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan and Operation Iraqi Freedom in Iraq, as well as humanitarian aid in the aftermath of the 2010 Haiti earthquake and the 2011 Sindh floods, delivering thousands of food rations, tons of medical and emergency supplies. On the 26th of March 2003, 15 U.S. AFC-17s participated in the biggest combat airdrop since the United States invasion of Panama in December of 1989. The nighttime airdrop of 1,000 paratroopers from the 173rd Airborne Brigade occurred over Bashir, Iraq. These airdrops were followed by C-17s ferrying M1 Abrams, M2 Bradleys, M113s, and artillery. U.S. AFC-17s have also assisted allies in their airlift needs, such as Canadian vehicles to Afghanistan in 2003 and Australian forces for the Australian-led military deployment to East Timor in 2006. In 2006, the United States Air Force C-17s flew 15 Canadian Leopard C-2 tanks from Kyrgyzstan into Kandahar in support of NATO's Afghanistan mission. In 2013, 5 U.S. AFC-17s supported French operations in Mali, operating with other nations' C-17s, including the Royal Air Force, NATO, and the Royal Canadian Air Force, who deployed a single C-17 each. Since 1999, C-17s have flown annually to Antarctica on Operation Deep Freeze in support of the U.S. Antarctic Research Program, replacing the C-141s used in prior years. The initial flight was flown by United States Air Force 62nd Airlift Wing, and the C-17s fly a round trip between Christchurch Airport and McMurdo Station around October of each year and take 5 hours to fly each way. In 2006, the C-17 flew its first Antarctic airdrop mission, delivering 70,000 pounds of supplies. Further airdrops occurred during subsequent years. A C-17 typically accompanies the President of the United States on his visits to both domestic and foreign arrangements, consultations, and meetings, and on these visits it is used to transport the presidential limousine, Marine One, as well as the equipment for several security detachments. On several occasions, the C-17 has been used to transport the President himself, temporarily gaining the Air Force One call sign while doing so. Debate arose over follow-on C-17 orders. The United States Air Force requested a line shutdown while Congress called for further production. In fiscal year 2007, the United States Air Force requested $1.6 billion in response to excessive combat use on the C-17 fleet. In 2008, USAF General Arthur Licht, commander of Air Mobility Command, indicated before a House of Representatives subcommittee on air and land forces a need to extend production to another 15 aircraft to increase the total to 205, and that C-17 production may continue to satisfy airlift requirements. The United States Air Force finally decided to cap its C-17 fleet at 223 aircraft, with the final delivery occurring on the 12th of September 2013. In 2015, as part of a missile defense test at Wake Island, simulated medium-range ballistic missiles were launched from C-17s against the THAAD missile defense system and the USS John Paul Jones. In early 2020s, palletized munitions, combat expendable platforms, were tested from C-17s and C-130Js with results the United States Air Force considered positive. That's actually kind of reminiscent of that plan for the 747 to carry ICBMs and launch those. In 2021, the Air Force Research Laboratory further developed the concept into the Rapid Dragon system, which transforms the C-17 into a lethal cruise missile arsenal ship capable of mass launching 45 JASSM-ER cruise missiles with 500 kilogram warheads from a standoff distance of 575 miles. Further anticipated improvements include support for JDAM-ER, mine laying, drone dispersal, as well as improved standoff range when full production of the 1,900 kilometer range JASSM-XR delivers large inventories in 2024. And if memory serves, JASSM stands for Joint Air-to-Surface Missile. I'm missing an S there. Yeah, I can't think of what the S is. I guess I can look it up real quick. Right, air-to-surface standoff missile. Go figure. Okay. On the 15th of August, 2021, United States Air Force C-17 02-1109 from the 62nd Airlift Wing and 446th Airlift Wing at Joint Base Lewis McChord departed Hamad Karzai International Airport in Kabul, Afghanistan, while crowds of people trying to escape the 2021 Taliban offensive ran alongside the aircraft. C-17 lifted off with people holding on to the outside, and at least 2 died after falling from the aircraft. There were an unknown number possibly crushed and killed by the landing gear retracting, with human remains found in the landing gear stowage. Also that day, C-17 01-0186 from the 816th Expeditionary Airlift Squadron at Al Udeid Air Base transported 823 Afghan citizens from Hamad Karzai International Airport on a single flight, setting a new record for the type, which was previously over 670 people during a 2013 typhoon evacuation from Tacloban, Philippines. Boeing marketed the C-17 to many European nations, including Belgium, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. Royal Air Force has established an aim of having interoperability in some weapons and capabilities commonality with the United States Air Force. 1998 Strategic Defense Review identified a requirement for a strategic airlifter. The short-term strategic airlift competition commenced in September of that year, but the tender was canceled in August 1999, with some bids identified by ministers as too expensive, including the Boeing BAE C-17 bid and others unsuitable. The project continued, with the C-17 seen as a favorite. In the light of the Airbus A400M delays, the UK Secretary of State for Defense Geoff Hoon announced in May 2000 that the RAF would lease 4 C-17s at an annual cost of £100 million from Boeing for an initial 7 years, with an optional 2-year extension. The RAF had the option to buy or return the aircraft to Boeing afterwards. The UK committed to upgrading its C-17s in line with the USAF so that if they were returned, the USAF could adopt them. The lease agreement restricted the C-17's operational use, meaning that the RAF could not use them for airdrop, rough field, low-level operations, and air-to-air refueling. The first C-17 was delivered to the RAF at Boeing's Long Beach facility on the 17th of May 2001 and flown to RAF Bryce Norton by a crew from No. 99 Squadron. The RAF's 4th C-17 was delivered on the 24th of August 2001. The RAF aircraft were some of the first to take advantage of the new center wing fuel tank found in the Block 13 aircraft. In RAF service, the C-17 has not been given an official service name and designation. For example, the C-130J, referred to as the Hercules C-4 or C-5, was referred to simply as the C-17 or C-17A Globemaster. Although it was to be a fallback for the A400M, the Ministry of Defense announced on the 21st of July 2004 that they elected to buy their 4 C-17s at the end of the lease, though the A400M appeared to be closer to production. The C-17 gives the RAF strategic capabilities that would not wish to lose. For example, maximum payload of 169,500 pounds compared to the A400M's 82,000 pounds. The C-17's capability allowed the RAF to use it as an airborne hospital for medical evacuation missions as well. Another C-17 was ordered in August 2006 and delivered on the 22nd of February 2008. The 4 leased C-17s were to be purchased later in 2008. Due to fears that the A400M may suffer further delays, the MOD announced in 2006 that it planned to acquire 3 more C-17s for a total of 8, with delivery in 2009 to 2010. On the 3rd of December 2007, the MOD announced a contract for a sixth C-17, which was received on the 11th of June 2008. On the 18th of December 2009, Boeing confirmed that the RAF had ordered a seventh C-17, which was delivered on the 16th of November 2010, and the UK announced its purchase of the 8th C-17 in February of 2012, and as late as November 2013, they had shown interest in purchasing a 9th C-17. On the 13th of January 2013, the RAF deployed two C-17s from RAF Brize Norton to the French Évreux Air Base, transporting French armored vehicles to the Malian capital of Bamako during the French intervention in Mali. In June 2015, an RAF C-17 was used to medically evacuate 4 victims of the 2015 SOS attacks from Tunisia. On the 13th of September 2022, C-17 ZZ-177 carried the body of Queen Elizabeth II from Edinburgh Airport to RAF Norholt in London. She had been lying in state at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh, Scotland. The Royal Australian Air Force began investigating acquisition of strategic transport aircraft in 2005. In late 2005, the then Minister for Defense Robert Hill stated that such aircraft were being considered due to the limited availability of strategic airlift aircraft from partner nations and air freight companies. The C-17 was considered to be favored over the A400M as it was a proven aircraft and in production. One major RAAF requirement was the ability to airlift the Army's M1 Abrams tanks. Another requirement was immediate delivery. Though unstated, commonality with the USAF and RAF was also considered advantageous. RAAF aircraft were ordered directly from the USAF production run and are identical to American C-17s even in paint scheme, the only difference being the national markings, allowing deliveries to commence within 9 months of commitment to the program. On the 2nd of March 2006, the Australian government announced the purchase of 3 aircraft and 1 option with an entry into service dated 2006. In July of 2006, Boeing was awarded a fixed-price contract to deliver 4 C-17s for $780 million, and Australia also signed an $80.7 million contract to join the Global Virtual Fleet C-17 Sustainment Program. RAAF C-17s received the same upgrades as the United States Air Force's fleet. The RAAF took delivery of its first C-17 in a ceremony at Boeing's plant at Long Beach, California on the 28th of November 2006. Several days later, the aircraft flew from Hickam Air Force Base, Hawaii to Defense Establishment Fairbairn, Canberra, arriving on the 4th of December 2006. The aircraft was formally accepted in a ceremony at Fairbairn shortly after arrival. The second aircraft was delivered to the RAAF on the 11th of May 2007, and the third was delivered on the 18th of December 2007. The fourth Australian C-17 was delivered on the 19th of January 2008. All the Australian C-17s are operated by No. 36 Squadron and are based in RAAF Base Amberley in Queensland. On the 18th of April 2011, Boeing announced that Australia had signed an agreement with the U.S. government to acquire a 5th C-17 due to an increased demand for humanitarian and disaster relief missions. The aircraft was delivered to the RAAF on the 14th of September 2011. On the 23rd of September 2011, Australian Minister for Defence Material Jason Clare announced that the government was seeking information from the U.S. about the price and delivery schedule for a 6th Globemaster. In November 2011, Australia requested a 6th C-17 through the U.S. Foreign Military Sales Program. It was ordered on June 2012 and delivered on the 1st of November 2012. That's a pretty rapid turnaround, considering earlier in the article we were seeing a 2-year delay between orders and deliveries. In August of 2014, Defense Minister David Johnston announced the intention to purchase 1 or 2 additional C-17s. On the 3rd of October 2014, Johnston announced the government's approval to buy 2 C-17s at a total cost of $770 million. The United States Congress approved the sale under the Foreign Military Sales Program. Prime Minister Tony Abbott confirmed in April 2015 that 2 additional aircraft were to be ordered, with both delivered by the 4th of November 2015. These added to the 6 C-17s it already had as of 2015. The Canadian Forces had a long-standing need for strategic airlift for military and humanitarian operations around the world. and it had followed a pattern similar to the German Air Force in leasing Antonovs and Aleutians for many requirements, including deploying the Disaster Assistance Response Team to tsunami-stricken Sri Lanka in 2005. Canadian forces had relied entirely on leased AN-124 Rustlin for a Canadian Army deployment to Haiti in 2003. A combination of leased Rustlins, Aleutians, and USAF C-17s was also used to move heavy equipment to Afghanistan. In 2002, the Canadian Forces Future Strategic Airlifter project began to study alternatives, including long-term leasing arrangements. On the 5th of July 2006, the Canadian government issued a notice of intent to negotiate with Boeing to procure 4 airlifters for the Canadian Forces Air Command, or the Royal Canadian Air Force, after August of 2011. On the 1st of February 2007, Canada awarded a contract for 4 C-17s with delivery beginning in August 2007. Like Australia, Canada was granted airframes originally slated for the USAF to accelerate delivery. The official Canadian designation is C-17 Globemaster III. On the 23rd of July 2007, the first Canadian C-17 made its initial flight, and it was turned over to Canada on the 8th of August and participated at the Abbotsford International Air Show on the 11th of August prior to arriving at its new home base at 8-Wing CFB Trenton, Ontario on the 12th of August. Its first operational mission was to deliver disaster relief to Jamaica following Hurricane Dean that month. Last of the initial 4 aircraft was delivered in April of 2008. On the 19th of December 2014, it was reported that Canada intended to purchase 1 more C-17. On the 30th of March 2015, Canada's 5th C-17 arrived at CFB Trenton. The aircraft are assigned to 429 Transport Squadron based at CFB Trenton. On the 14th of April 2010, a Canadian C-17 landed for the first time at CFS Alert, world's most northerly airport. Canadian Globemasters have been deployed and supported numerous missions worldwide, including Operation Hestia after the earthquake in Haiti, providing airlift as part of Operation Mobile, and support to the Canadian mission in Afghanistan. After Typhoon Haiyan hit the Philippines in 2013, Canadian C-17s established an air bridge between the two nations, deploying Canada's start and delivering humanitarian supplies and equipment. In 2014, they supported Operation Reassurance and Operation Impact. At the 2006 Farnborough Air Show, a number of NATO member nations signed a letter of intent to jointly purchase and operate several C-17s within the strategic airlift capability. SAC members are Bulgaria, Estonia, Hungary, Lithuania, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Romania, Slovenia, the US, along with 2 Partnership for Peace countries, Finland and Sweden, as of 2010. Although soon to be NATO members as of the time of the recording of this video. Actually, I think only 2 countries are left to certify the recession. One of them being Turkey. So the purchase was for 2 C-17s, and a third was contributed by the U.S. On the 14th of July 2009, Boeing delivered the first C-17 under the SAC program, and the second and third C-17s were delivered in September and October of 2009. The SAC C-17s are based at Papa Air Base, Hungary. The Heavy Airlift Wing is hosted by Hungary, which acts as the flag nation. The aircraft are manned in similar fashion as the NATO E-3 AWACS aircraft. C-17 flight crew are multinational, but each mission is assigned to an individual member nation based on the SAC's annual flight hour share agreement. NATO Airlift Management Program Office provides management support for the Heavy Airlift Wing. NAMPL is a part of the NATO Support Agency. In September 2014, Boeing stated that the 3 C-17 supporting SAC missions had achieved a readiness rate of nearly 94% over the last 5 years and supported over 1,000 missions. And, that is not the button I wanted to hit. I want to take this baby in manually, now that the autopilot has rather nicely lined us up. That is not what I want to target. Nope. There we go. You can see our fellow C-17s are still following us in. That's fine. And we got that big booty. That big cargo booty. It's reasonably maneuverable at these low speeds. Alright, let's just shift over a little bit. Ah, there we go. The rest of the airfield has rendered, and we're actually a bit closer than I thought we were. Alright. I do like how we're losing speed in our dive here, so that's always, well, not always a good thing, but it's good in this case. And we're still too high, apparently. Okay, we can straighten out here now, it seems. Ooh, a lot of lag on the input there. Alright. I think... Yep, we are good. Let's just smooth out the touchdown here. Come on. And there we go. Touchdown.
Welcome home.
And unfortunately, the game doesn't model thrust reversers, so we'll have to settle for zero throttle and full brakes. Which, are not enough, but fortunately we can turn on a dime. Oh man, that's always a bit of a treat. And we can see our C-17s, or the rest of the C-17s are entering the pattern. And I guess we'll just park here because I turned the wrong way off of the, oops. Because I turned the wrong way off of the airstrip, so. There we go. And hopefully we'll stop before we hit the hangar. Oh, we are so close. So very, very close that the texture is doing some really odd stuff. And we can see how big a person's supposed to be, because I think that right there... Let me pull my mouse out now. I need a bigger desk. Aside from the textures being weird, I think that's just supposed to be a door. Okay. Yeah, we can't quite see it from this angle, but there we go. Yeah, those are just supposed to be doors, so at most, maybe you could drive a fork truck through them. But as we know, the scale is, well, it does what it wants to in this game. Actually, oh wow, we had a lot of room left. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Scared me for a second. I thought the game was going to crash. But yeah, this view makes it... The camera must be placed in front of the aircraft, because that view makes it look like you're about to run into it. But then, obviously, we go outside, and we got about half an aircraft length or so left. There we go. Also, if you need a quick way to tell the C-17 from the C-5 Galaxy, because I know I used to have difficulty with that sometimes, just look for the winglets on the edge of the wing. These little things here. Let me zoom in on that a little. There we go. You see how these little parts of the wing stick up on the end? The C-5 doesn't have that, so if you don't have them side by side where you can just tell them apart by their scale, because the C-5 is way bigger than the C-17, that's another thing you can look for, is just see where those winglets are. Also, I think the C-5 cockpit is higher to accommodate the nose that opens up on it, but I might be mistaken about that. In any case, let's continue the... I don't think there's too much left in the article. Yeah, there's not too much left. So, the Indian Air Force in June of 2009 selected the C-17 for its very heavy lift transport aircraft requirement to replace several types of transport aircraft. In January of 2010, India requested 10 C-17s through the U.S. Foreign Military Sales Program, and the sale was approved by Congress in June of 2010. On the 23rd of June 2010, the IAF successfully test-landed a USAF C-17 at the Gagel Airport in India to complete the IAF C-17 trials. In February 2011, the IAF and Boeing agreed terms for the order of 10 C-17s with an option for 6 more. The U.S. $4.1 billion order was approved by the Indian Cabinet Committee on Security on the 6th of June 2011. Deliveries began in June 2013 and were to continue to 2014. In 2012, the IAF reportedly finalized plans to buy 6 more C-17s in its 5-year plan for 2017 to 2022. It provides strategic airlift, the ability to deploy special forces, and to operate in diverse terrain from Himalayan air bases in North India at 13,000 feet to Indian Ocean bases in South India. The C-17s are based at Hindon Air Force Station and are operated by No. 81 Squadron IAF Skylords. First C-17 was delivered in January 2013 for testing and training, and was officially accepted on the 11th of June 2013. The second C-17 was delivered on the 23rd of July 2013 and put into service immediately. The IAF Chief of Air Staff Norman A.K. Brown called it a major component in the IAF's modernization drive while taking delivery of the aircraft at Boeing's Long Beach factory. On the 2nd of September 2013, the Skylord Squadron with 3 C-17s officially entered IAF service. The Skylords regularly fly missions within India, such as to high-altitude bases at Les Etoiles, and the IAF first used the C-17 to transport an infantry battalion's equipment to Port Blair on Andaman Islands in the 1st of July 2013. Foreign deployments to date include Tajikistan in August of 2013 and Rwanda to support Indian peacekeepers. One C-17 was used for transporting relief materials during Cyclone Phelan. The 6th aircraft was received in July 2014. In June 2017, the U.S. Department of State approved the potential sale of one C-17 to India under a proposed $366 million U.S. foreign military sale. The aircraft, the last C-17 produced, increased the IAF's fleet to 11 C-17s. In March of 2018, a contract was awarded for completion by 22nd of August 2019. Boeing delivered Qatar's first C-17 on the 11th of August 2009, and the second on the 10th of September 2009 for the Qatar Emiri Air Force. Qatar received its third C-17 in 2012, and fourth C-17 was received on the 10th of December 2012. In June of 2013, the New York Times reported that Qatar was allegedly using its C-17s to ship weapons from Libya to the Syrian opposition during the civil war via Turkey. On the 15th of June 2015, it was announced at the Paris Air Show that Qatar agreed to order 4 additional C-17s from the 5 remaining Whitetail C-17s to double Qatar's C-17 fleet. One Qatari C-17 bears the civilian markings of government-owned Qatar Airways, although the airplane is owned and operated by the Qatar Emiri Air Force. This is because some airports are closed to airplanes with military markings. That's a little bit suspicious, but okay. United Arab Emirates. In February 2009, United Arab Emirates Air Force agreed to buy 4 C-17s, and in January 2010 a contract was signed for 6 C-17s. In May of 2011, the first C-17 was handed over, and the final was received in June of 2012. Kuwait also requested purchase of 1 C-17 in September 2010 and a second in April 2013 through the U.S. Foreign Military Sales Program. The nation ordered 2 C-17s, and the first was delivered on the 13th of February 2014. In 2015, New Zealand's Minister of Defence Jerry Brownlee was considering the purchase of 2 C-17s for the Royal New Zealand Air Force at an estimated cost of $600 million as a heavy air transport option. However, the New Zealand government eventually decided not to acquire the C-17. And there aren't there aren't too many variants. There's the C-17A, which is the initial production model, the C-17AER, which is the unofficial name for C-17As with an extended range due to the addition of the center wing tank, and it was incorporated into production in 2001 beginning with Block 13 aircraft. Block 16 is a software-hardware upgrade that improved the onboard inert gas generating system, BIGS 2, a new weather radar, and an improved stabilizer strut system and other avionics, and Block 21 adds ADS-B capability, IFF modification, communication, navigation upgrades, and improved flight management. A C-17B model was a proposed tactical airlifter designed for shorter landings and takeoff distances, And Boeing offered it to the U.S. military in 2007 for carrying the Army's future combat systems, vehicles, and other equipment, but obviously none of that really came to fruition. And there was a proposed civilian variant that McDonnell Douglas had called the MD-17, and Boeing later redesignated it as the BC-17 after its merger with McDonnell Douglas. And that about covers it. Yeah, that's about it. Most notably, one was actually hit by, on 2003, one was hit by a surface-to-air missile after taking off from Baghdad, and one engine was disabled, but the aircraft was able to return and make a safe landing, and it was later repaired and returned to service. Couple crashed in Iraq and Afghanistan because the runways were shorter than the crew expected, but remarkably few casualties. And yeah, that's about it. So as far as specifications go, 3 crew, which is incredibly small for an aircraft of this size, especially when you consider, I think the Boeing 747's initial crew was like 6, and that's just to fly the plane. Capacity of 170,900 pounds of cargo distributed at max over 18 463L master pallets or a mix of palletized cargo and vehicles. It could also hold 102 paratroopers or 134 troops with palletized and sidewall seats, or 54 troops with sidewall seats, which also allows for 13 cargo pallets, or 36 liters of 54 ambulatory patients and medical attendants, or cargo such as a single M1 Abrams tank, 2 Bradley armored vehicles, or 3 Stryker armored vehicles. Cruise speed of 450 knots, range of 2,420 nautical miles with payload, ferry range to 6,230 nautical miles, service ceiling 45,000 feet, and a thrust-to-weight ratio of 0.277, but I mean, that's kind of par for the course with these large airliners. So with that, I think we can end things here. And hey, look, our one wingman is actually staying landed for once, so that's a nice change of pace. Oh, look at them. So I think we can call it here for today. Alright, so that'll about wrap it up for today. Hopefully after the next couple entries we can get back to some of the more exciting aircraft. But until then, thank you all for watching and stay tuned for next time, and stay safe out there, and we'll see you then.